Is Jesus black? What ancient Bibles say about his true identity? Imagine stepping into a church and encountering a mural of Jesus with dark skin and perhaps afro-textured hair, a striking, almost unexpected image that halts you in reflection. This portrayal of Christ contrasts powerfully with the fair-skinned, serene face that most American Christians recognize from stained glass windows, paintings, and statues. For centuries, the Western image of Jesus has depicted him with European features, soft brown hair, blue eyes, and light skin. But what if this familiar image owes more to European cultural ideals than to historical accuracy? What if Jesus, the central figure of one of the world's largest religions, looked significantly different from this iconic representation? The question of Jesus' racial identity is not just a modern curiosity, it's an ancient and provocative debate, one that stirs deep emotions and confronts long-held beliefs. From the Ethiopian Bible, one of the world's oldest biblical canons, to early African depictions of Christ, ancient texts, and art suggest that Jesus may have been represented as black, or at least as darker-skinned, than commonly portrayed in Western art. This question lies at the intersection of faith and cultural identity, resonating even more deeply in a world still contending with issues of race, justice, and historical narrative. If this topic resonates with you, please subscribe to the channel, share your thoughts in the comments, and join the conversation. 1. Jesus in Ancient African Texts, a philosophical exploration. One of the earliest and most distinct portrayals of Jesus Christ emerges from Ethiopia, a land with a deep and enduring connection to Christianity that spans nearly 2,000 years. Ethiopia is notable for adopting Christianity as a state religion early in its history, long before most Western nations, and for developing its own rich Christian tradition, largely independent of the influences of Rome and Constantinople. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church upholds a unique canon, the Ethiopian Bible, which contains several books absent from Western Christian Bibles. Preserved in the ancient Ethiopian language of Ge'ez, this canon offers unique narratives, iconography, and interpretations, presenting a powerful vision of Jesus depicted with dark skin and features reflecting those of the people who worship him. The Ethiopian Bible and its accompanying religious art are significant, not only for their spiritual teachings, but also for their cultural resonance, especially in their portrayal of Jesus. In Ethiopian iconography, Jesus often appears with darker skin and African features, contrasting sharply with the European depictions that have shaped Western Christianity. This representation deeply resonates within African Christianity, as it portrays Jesus in a way that embodies the identity of those who worship him. For Ethiopian Christians, a black Jesus goes beyond cultural pride. It serves as a testament to inclusion, solidarity, and a powerful affirmation of their central role in Christian history. It reminds African believers that divinity is not confined to any single culture, affirming that their lives, histories, and experiences hold significant value within the Christian narrative. This Ethiopian portrayal of Jesus, with dark skin and familiar features, brings forth an image of Christ that is physically and spiritually relatable to African Christians, in contrast to the predominantly white images of Jesus popularized in European art, which can feel disconnected from African cultural experiences. A black Jesus affirms the dignity and worth of his African followers. This depiction reflects a God who intimately understands the lives and challenges of his African worshippers, offering a figure who not only exists in spirit, but resonates in shared lived experiences. For Ethiopian Christians, seeing Jesus as black is not primarily about racial identity or politics, but about recognizing a divine figure who embodies their reality and humanity. In this way, a black Jesus offers a form of spiritual validation that speaks to those who have faced marginalization and erasure, a figure who intimately understands their history and struggles. This portrayal of Jesus serves as a profound reminder that the Christian message is universal, transcending cultural and racial divisions. To Ethiopian believers, a black Jesus signifies that God's image is indeed present in people of all backgrounds, transcending any singular ethnic or cultural expression. The Ethiopian Christian vision of a black Jesus serves as both a source of pride and a symbol of solidarity, a Christ who reflects his faithful, affirming their identity and history. In this familiar figure, Ethiopian Christians see a God who has journeyed alongside them, a reflection of their resilience and endurance, particularly in the face of historical oppression. Unique to the Ethiopian Bible are books like the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, which are not found in the typical Western Christian Bible. These texts resonate with African spirituality, incorporating themes of divine justice, resilience, and redemption, values that align closely with the African experience of endurance and liberation. For centuries, Ethiopian Christians have drawn strength from these texts, viewing them as affirmations of their spiritual and cultural heritage. These narratives shape a view of Jesus as a figure who embodies justice, strength, and compassion, often depicted with empathy and kindness in Ethiopian art, symbolizing shared humanity and closeness with his followers. For many Africans and people of African descent, the Ethiopian image of Jesus offers an alternative to centuries of European representations that excluded or marginalized them. The European image of Jesus, typically depicted as light-skinned and Eurocentric, has served as the dominant visual representation of Christianity, even when introduced to diverse cultures across the globe. For many African communities, these portrayals of a white Jesus can feel alienating and distant, disconnected from their own cultural identities. Conversely, the image of a black Jesus allows these communities to reclaim their place in the Christian story, envisioning Jesus as one who not only understands but also shares in their struggles and heritage. The concept of a black Jesus embodies endurance, liberation, and a divine connection to African heritage. It challenges Eurocentric interpretations of Christianity, creating space for a more inclusive and diverse vision of faith. A black Jesus is not a recent invention nor an attempt to alter Christian doctrine. Rather, it is a return to a historically grounded understanding of divinity that embraces the diversity within God's creation and the contributions of African Christianity to the global Christian tradition. The Ethiopian image of Jesus calls believers to reflect on the multifaceted roots of their faith, inviting them to appreciate the richness of Christianity's multicultural history and to honor the sacredness inherent in all people. This Ethiopian vision of Jesus also raises questions about the nature of God and how divinity is represented across cultures. If Jesus can be portrayed as black in Ethiopian Christianity, it follows that God's image can be found in the diversity of the global church. This perspective expands the concept of Jesus beyond any single ethnic or cultural identity, encouraging believers to see God's image in all people. It challenges the notion that God is best represented by any one cultural ideal, and inspires Christians worldwide to embrace a faith that is as inclusive as it is diverse. Ultimately, the Ethiopian portrayal of Jesus as black offers a vision of God that is both deeply human and universally accessible. For African Christians, this image speaks directly to their experiences, history, and identity, reinforcing the belief that they are made in the image of God. A Black Jesus becomes a source of pride and resilience, embodying divine empathy and understanding, particularly for those who have faced oppression and misrepresentation. This inclusive image of Jesus allows African believers to connect with their faith in a way that feels culturally relevant and spiritually fulfilling. For African-descendant people across the world, the Ethiopian portrayal of Jesus as Black provides a powerful reminder that Christianity is not exclusive to any single culture or ethnicity. It is a faith that has flourished across diverse societies, adapted to many languages, and embraced people from every background. A Black Jesus invites all believers to reflect on the beauty and diversity within the Christian tradition, reminding them that divinity transcends human boundaries. It is a call to recognize that Jesus' teachings of love, compassion, and justice are meant for all people, regardless of race or culture. In conclusion, the Ethiopian image of Jesus as Black is not merely a cultural or artistic interpretation, but a testament to the universal and inclusive nature of Christianity. It enables African Christians to reclaim their place within the Christian narrative, seeing themselves reflected in the divine and feeling a profound sense of belonging. This image of Jesus encourages all Christians to celebrate the diversity of their faith, embracing a vision of God that reflects the beauty of humanity in all its forms. By acknowledging the significance of a Black Jesus, believers can nurture a more inclusive and compassionate faith, one that honors the shared dignity and worth of all people. This portrayal of Jesus not only reaffirms the place of African Christians within the global church, but also enriches the understanding of what it means to follow a Savior who embodies the experiences and identities of humanity in all its diversity. 2. The Historical Jesus, a philosophical examination. When reflecting on the historical Jesus, the man who lived and preached in the culturally rich region of first-century Judea, positioned at the intersection of Africa, Europe, and Asia, we encounter a nuanced and enlightening inquiry into his appearance and identity. Historical and anthropological evidence suggests that Jesus, born within a Middle Eastern Jewish milieu, likely bore physical characteristics typical of that region: darker skin tones, curly or woolly hair, and features reflective of the ethnic diversity present in Judea at the time. These findings contrast sharply with the Western image of a light-skinned, blue-eyed Jesus, inviting us to question the endurance of this Eurocentric portrayal and its impact on cultural perception. The popular image of a white Jesus took root most significantly during the European Renaissance, where artists, shaped by their cultural aesthetics and ideals, crafted depictions of Jesus that mirrored European society's perceptions of holiness, nobility, and beauty. The intent was not necessarily to obscure historical truth, but to create a vision of Jesus that resonated within their cultural framework. However, over time, this European depiction of Jesus shifted from an artistic interpretation to an authoritative, universal representation of holiness, which spread globally through European influence, colonial expansion, and missionary efforts. Within colonial contexts, this European Jesus came to signify more than a religious figure. He represented the perceived authority and supremacy of Western culture and religion. Missionaries and colonizers carried this image to Africa, Asia, and the Americas, often reinforcing Eurocentric norms as universal truths. For many indigenous and African-descendant people, The European Jesus became a symbol of subjugation, linked to a faith that appeared hierarchical and exclusionary, embodying a worldview in which whiteness connoted divinity and moral authority. This representation upheld implications of racial superiority, positioning Jesus' European appearance as the epitome of virtue and humanity, while often casting other cultural identities as subordinate or pagan. For those accustomed to this iconic image, acknowledging that Jesus likely bore Middle Eastern features can evoke discomfort and cognitive dissonance. To recognize that Jesus may have looked significantly different from these European portrayals challenges established conceptions of faith, tradition, and cultural identity. This awareness can prompt a reflective examination of how culture, historical context, and power have shaped religious symbols and our understanding of the divine. For some, it may be unsettling to confront that cherished images of Jesus are cultural constructs rather than historical representations. Yet this recognition opens the door to a deeper, more nuanced engagement with faith. Embracing this historical perspective of Jesus as a Middle Eastern man advances a more inclusive and culturally expansive understanding of Christianity's origins. Recognizing Jesus' Middle Eastern identity encourages a perception of Christianity not as a Western institution, but as a faith rooted in the multicultural landscape of the ancient Near East. This understanding enriches the Christian narrative by emphasizing its diverse beginnings and urging an image of Jesus that resonates across cultural and ethnic lines. By examining the historical Jesus, we embrace a broader, more interconnected understanding of his message, one that speaks to a global, inclusive human family rather than an exclusive cultural ideal. 3. Implications of a Black Jesus. A philosophical reflection. Conceiving of Jesus as Black represents more than an artistic reimagining. It profoundly reconfigures the theological and relational dynamics between humanity and the divine. Should American Christianity, and indeed global Christianity, embrace a Black Jesus, new vistas would open for understanding the depth of his life, ministry, and connection to communities that have long endured oppression and marginalization. This shift carries particular resonance for the African American community, where such a re-envisioning of Jesus would offer not only profound affirmation, but a transformative reframing of faith itself. For African Americans, a Black Jesus embodies both spiritual devotion and resilient defiance, a figure who understands, with an intimate familiarity, the lived realities and historical struggles of people of color. Within a society where African Americans have encountered systemic exclusion and racialized suffering, a Black Jesus stands as a radical testament to divine empathy. This vision of Jesus speaks to the divine comprehension of not just general human suffering, but of the specific injustices of racial discrimination, poverty, and marginalization. Here, Jesus becomes a figure who shares in the tangible struggles of African Americans, forging a bond of solidarity that is both theological and experiential. This shift is monumental. It reclaims sacred dignity and resists the narratives that have historically diminished African and African American identity within the broader religious imagination. To many African American Christians, the image of a Black Jesus feels like a homecoming, an affirmation that their place within the Christian narrative is essential, not peripheral. African American communities have often engaged with Christianity through the lens of endurance and resilience, drawing on biblical narratives of suffering and perseverance. A Black Jesus aligns with this tradition, symbolizing both liberation and resistance against oppression, echoing the biblical calls for justice that resonate throughout prophetic literature. This reimagining is not only spiritually validating, but a cultural reclamation, a refusal of historical interpretations that have distanced African Americans from a religion to which they have made profound contributions. A Black Jesus offers a vision of redemption that also embodies resistance, a source of empowerment rooted in shared identity and struggle. The philosophical implications of a Black Jesus extend beyond African American experiences, inviting all Christians to reconsider their understanding of divinity and humanity. If Jesus, as God incarnate, could be envisioned as Black, then God's image is genuinely present in people of all ethnicities, nationalities, and backgrounds. This perspective challenges believers to confront long-standing biases rooted in Eurocentric tradition and to recognize a God whose image resonates within the diversity of human experiences. The Black Jesus is a reminder that divinity transcends ethnic or cultural limitations, manifesting universally across all people. This vision invites Christians to recognize divinity beyond racial and cultural boundaries, embracing a faith that is rooted in unity amidst diversity. Globally, the acceptance of a Black Jesus might represent a significant shift, yet it also has the potential to bring profound healing. Embracing this vision would underscore the Gospel's call for equality, empathy, and compassion, urging Christians into a deeper engagement with the struggles of historically marginalized groups. The power of a Black Jesus lies in his capacity to unite communities, affirm shared humanity, and inspire a Christianity that is more inclusive, compassionate, and just. This image invites believers to look beyond familiar symbols, toward a faith that reflects the diverse, multicultural heritage of its adherents. A Christianity in which God's grace and love transcend all racial and ethnic distinctions, drawing humanity into a vision of unity enriched by diversity. Conclusion. The question of Jesus' identity is far more than an intellectual exercise. It is a pathway toward a richer understanding of ourselves, our cultural narratives, and our shared humanity. Delving into ancient sources such as the Ethiopian Bible and examining the historical and cultural contexts of Jesus' life offers a more inclusive view of him than what has traditionally dominated Western Christian thought. This broader perspective not only challenges entrenched images, but also opens profound avenues for spiritual insight, compassion, and interconnectedness. At the core of Jesus' teachings is a message of love, compassion, and unity, principles that transcend race, nationality, and culture. When we imagine Jesus as a figure who embodies the diversity of humanity, we honor the worth and beauty inherent in every culture, skin tone, and individual. This endeavor is not a modern revision of history, but an embrace of a more complete vision of God, one that resonates with people across the globe and fosters a faith that acknowledges the sacredness of all humanity. Considering Jesus within this expansive framework invites a deeper theological realization. If Jesus could embody any ethnicity, then the divine image is indeed reflected in all people. This inclusive vision brings us closer to grappling with one of faith's most fundamental questions. What does it truly mean to be made in the image of God? It challenges us to view this divine image not as a fixed appearance, but as a manifestation of love, justice, and compassion present in each person. In contemplating the diverse facets of Jesus' identity, we are urged to consider how our perceptions of him influence our relationships with one another. Recognizing a multifaceted Jesus encourages us to transcend historical biases and embrace a broader, more inclusive faith. This reflection serves as a reminder that being made in the image of God imparts a universal dignity and worth, calling us to cultivate empathy and unity across cultural, racial, and religious divides. By embracing this vision, we align more closely with the heart of Jesus' teachings, living a love that knows no limits and embodying a compassion that reflects the divine spark within each of us.